All right, so we're live, yes?
In the process of going there. Yes, we have gone live.
Splendid. I'm going to tidy up my work bag while we go live. Thankfully, my computer is not in my work bag. Otherwise, that would be messy.
All right. So, was it Frank? Is that what we're trying to figure out what Evan's wrestler name is? He said it's Mike, but we don't think.
No, it can't be Mike. I don't like Mike. Mike does not work as a wrestler. It needs to be like Harry Hagrid. It needs to be like Harry something or Hagrid or something. What's the Spanish for Hagrid? What's the Spanish for Hagrid?
I don't know.
He could be Toots Goodwill McGee.
God, my head's too big. Yeah, so Ryan, huh? And Harry won. Good to see you again.
Hi, Mike. Good to see you.
Yeah, it is good to see me.
Can't really see you though. Is you okay, buddy?
Do what? Look at my hair. I got it shaved.
We can't see very easily. You're in a small, dark place and likely to be eaten by a group.
See it? No.
You need more light. Are you up at the house or are you out in town?
Yeah, if he turns on lights, there's going to be bird-sized bugs that fly in.
Hey, he's trying to tell me that it's a good place to go. Suck it up and turn on the lights and get bugs.
It's a great place, but don't turn on the lights or you'll draw in bird-sized bugs.
So you can get killed by the bugs in the dark. No, I don't like that idea either. Bugger that for a game of soldiers, as they say. I'm firing up the laptop so that I can. I'm intrigued to see how.
A little.
You know. You not.
You can bump up the exposure on the camera settings.
We need to get him a mosquito tent for the.
See, that's as far as I can get to the lights.
Okay, that's cool. Well, at least we can see some light behind you.
Yeah, there's the. Look, I blew that up for Marlis today.
Nice. Did you use a pump?
Twice. No, I fainted.
Mm.
Oh, here, I'll turn the light on for that. Come on.
Holy crap! That poster seems to have generated a lot of conversation.
I hadn't looked at it
now the lights on
earlier.
I want to just make sure that we don't have any more fucking like, hey, I'm from Coca-Cola and I want to sell you a fucking sad that needs to be written. Yeah, okay. It doesn't look like we got anybody being abusive.
What are we selling?
Have you guys run into this as well? The scammers, they all come in from the Coca-Cola company. And it's all like Elon Musk stuff. Elon said this or whatever it was. And it's just like 3 or 4 words. And they just basically bomb into a post. It really pisses me off. LinkedIn's got to get this shit sorted out. All right. It does not. Oh, God. Hang on. What the hell? Oh, who doesn't enjoy some crisp planing? Okay, I can deal with this.
Yeah.
All right. It looks like I don't have. Do what?
Oh, I was asking Ev, how's the weather? Is it?
It's good, man.
Still in the rainy season, isn't it?
Yeah, but it hasn't rained since we've been here. It's just humid. It's really humid. The mornings are really nice. Every day, you know, I think Richie would be happy to hear that every day I do exercise. I walk down and up this hill, which is a fucking bitch.
That's exercise.
Yeah. So every day I've done that. I choose to do it in the afternoon after dinner. I probably should do it in the morning because I come back and I'm just drenched. But yeah, the weather's nice, man.
Good.
It's good. A lot of bugs yesterday, so I didn't sit outside last night. I did some work inside, but Yeah, tonight's good.
Good. Good. Are we,
My drunk
we
neighbor
going
came
or-
over and me.
Your drunk, well, who did what, where, what?
My drunk neighbor. His name is
He
Richard.
broke up, and did you get? He broke up. I wasn't sure if it was drunk or drug lord neighbor.
Drunk.
Yeah, drunk. Oh,
Drunk.
Yeah.
Got it. That I think.
I know, when you're in Mexico, you got to make that clarification.
You think? Although, honestly, in rural America, you got to make that bloody clarification as well. It's like, hi, is your neighbor drunk or are they cooking up ecstasy?
True.
You can get ecstasy here.
You can get everything there, let's face it. Well, I mean, hell, you can get everything everywhere. Depends.
Look, there's Marlis.
Oh, now Chris is frozen.
Things available.
There we go.
We're up and live.
We're live. We're on.
Yay. Cool. Awesome. So let's have a conversation about what we're going to have a conversation about. I put a post up. I put a post up today. And it was driven off of a post that I put up yesterday. Yesterday's LinkedIn post was all about wanting to see some changes inside LinkedIn. Everything from, if you're going to connect with me and sell something to me in 10 seconds flat, I need to be able to, not necessarily report it, but, have they have the photo frames now, like I'm hiring and I'm hired and I'm for hire. I want to, I'm selling shit, or I'm Blinky. And there are a few other things, companies that come in and bomb and try to persuade the thing. But the one thing that seemed to resonate was the, LinkedIn does not equal a dating app kind of conversation, and, wanting LinkedIn to put some better guardrails around that. And got a couple of conversations going with some folks behind the scenes. I'm like, look, I've said this a couple of times, but I think it's time to readdress it. And, I dropped a post out this afternoon before I headed up to the hills, to the wedding and shenanigans. And it seems to have got a fair amount of conversation going and traction. Thankfully, just dropped into it briefly. It seems to be very positive. I'm not seeing, I put a post out a while ago about mansplaining, and there are so many people that took exception to it. And I'm like, y'all need to go look in the fucking mirror. But this one was very much addressing a lot of the mindset and the mentality of people in this industry when it comes to equality, when it comes to looking beyond the visual aspect of the individual in front of you, when it comes to having conversations like we're having conversations. These are conversations with the three of you. I'm not sitting there with either one of you two harboring thoughts that maybe I can get either one of you two into bed. I'm sitting here having a conversation with you.
Evan, I'm disappointed, but go on.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I can't say I'm available. Jesse's got me, if it's any consolation. He gets first dibs on me. And so I don't feel in many cases in our industry, and I mean, we can talk about this in other industries, but we can't because we don't live in those industries. We help them, but we don't live in them. We live in our industry, and, same thing, charity begins at home. Well, fixing shit should probably begin at home as well. So for me, it's like, what can we do differently, better, more effective to tackle this head on? How can we help people think? How can we help people understand that second voice in their head? I've got to believe that some people have it. And how do we tackle it? How do we deal with this? How do we call it out? How do we inform people? How do we help people learn what isn't acceptable behavior? And it's a balance because, I mentioned it in the post. We talked about chivalry. To me, I was brought up with, you will open a door. Now I'll open a door whether it's for a man or a woman. It's how I'm brought up. But the chivalrous part of me is, I will open a door because that's the right thing to do. That's how I was brought up. I don't want to be seen as demeaning. I don't want anybody to ever think I'm doing it because they're of the opposite sex or whatever else it is. I do it because that's how I was brought up, and it was the right way to respect somebody. And I don't do it so that you can glance at an ass as it goes through or any of that stupid shit that I know goes on. So I'm trying to figure out, aside from just being a voice and aside from just talking about it, what we can do in this industry to bring more diversity in and not have it hammered down, and women in this industry just going, why the fuck am I putting up with this shit?
Well, I said bingo when you said respect. You know, I think that's the key, right? You see, our world has gone crazy where we're banning words, right? I can't use the word dickhead. I can't use the word whatever. That's bullshit. It's not the word. It's the meaning behind the word. It's the intent of the word and how I'm using it. It's the context of the word. When because I'm a Christian guy, right? And a lot of times people will be, you swear? Yeah, I swear. I mean, they're words in the English dictionary. Why wouldn't I use them? It's how I use them, right? If I go, take the word fuck, right? That offends some people. Now, I would never use it in a place where I think it would offend people because it's disrespectful. But when I'm talking with friends, when I'm talking on the security shit show, when I'm talking with coworkers, yeah, I'll use the word fuck, but I'll use it not to offend you, not to put you down. I'll use it just as a matter of expression, like it's meant to be used, right? And today we've become so fucking myopic where it's like, well, you can't use that word. Why? Why can't I use that word? It's not the word that's the problem. It's the person using the word, right? Disrespecting people. That's the fucking problem.
I mean,
that pisses me off.
Yeah, you saw the message. We talked about it briefly yesterday. The notes that I tackled this in a LinkedIn in a Slack channel. Somebody was basically being an ass. They're back to being the dickhead. They were being a dickhead, and I pointed that out. I said, and I was very blunt, and I'm like, that was a dick move. And I carried the conversation on and tried to say, hey, look, and this and this and this, and this is, you got to get your shit together. They hit me up in a private conversation. He hit me up in a private conversation and said, given this and given that, and given gender neutrality, I'd rather you didn't say dick move. I'd rather you just say it was whatever the hell it was move. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. I'm like, I'm purebred male. I have a dick and I got balls. As far as I am concerned, from my perspective, it was a fucking dick move. Now stop trying to change the subject. Take ownership of your fucking bullshit that you just did and stop trying to deflect it. Go look in the fucking mirror and realize it was your problem. You did it. You are the one that needs to actually take a little bit of ownership of your fucking actions.
So I saw that picture of that interaction, and the word was jerk. And I'm just going to pick on that for a second.
Oh my God, yeah, that's a good point. Jerk off
is correct. So
no, that's the word. Wasn't that the word that he wanted him to use instead of dickhead?
That is correct. But again, the argument was genderfied language. Well, we're talking slang for starters, so let's be real careful about how much value we slap on that. But jerk technically is short for jerk off, which is an action associated with the male anatomy. So
is that masturbation?
That you can say exclusive, but
they didn't far off of it. Yeah.
The point being is to your guys' earlier comment about respect, that in this fervor to be so right about something so narrow, they miss the broad picture of where they're being wrong at the same time they're trying to be right. It's like, did you not see the circle of your logic here? It's not working, right? Now, interestingly enough, Chris, a couple of weeks ago, I stumbled across a social post from a mother on this very topic about how boys and girls are treated different. Now, she has a young girl and she has a young son. They're, I don't know, like a year or two apart, right? But basically what she noticed, and it was very eye-opening for me, but what she noticed was when people interacted with her daughter, it was, you're so pretty, you're gonna, it was very focused on soft aspects of appearance. It was very appearance focused language. These are grown adults talking to a child. And it was very, you're so pretty, you're so pretty, you're so pretty. But when they engaged her son, same people, you're so fast, look at you, you're strong, you're these things, right? It was positive reinforcement. And as I was seeing that, I'm like, oh shit, that's part of the problem in this industry is we're not acknowledging some of that root indoctrination that then carries over. And then you add being a jerk on top of it, and you wind up with the garbage we're dealing with. When we were at GurCon, right, there was some of that behavior going on.
Yeah.
Right. So you ask, what do we do? Well, I made it a point to highlight the females around and their contribution over other people's contribution, right? Like, hey, no, equal footing. But I think part of it is we can work on what we've got in the industry, but just like I'm trying to do with the security, I'm like, hey, so adults, I love y'all. I'm not sure I can save you. I'm going to put my energy into the kids. Right?
Yeah.
Because I think
one of the things though that I think is, because I've raised boys and girls, right? And I treat my boys different than I treat my girls. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think they're different people, right? Different people, you treat them differently, right? And I think where we miss up is we generalize so much. We put people into buckets without actually getting to know the person, right? It's okay to tell a woman she's beautiful. It's okay to tell a man he's handsome.
Yep.
It's based on the relationship I have, right? It's probably not okay for me to say it at a conference to some girl I don't know.
Right.
Right. If I say it to my daughter, if I say it to my wife, if I say it to a woman that I have a relationship with, a friend relationship who won't take it wrong, right? But that goes back to that respect thing. I can't respect somebody if I don't know you, right? There's a base level of respect, right? I won't come out of the gate and, put you down based on the way you look or the way, that shit. But if I get to know you and you're making shitty choices, I will come right out and tell you you're making shitty choices. Right. And I will probably treat a man differently than a woman in that same situation. And the reason why is because I am a man. So I know how I feel about this. And I think I hold men to a higher standard because I'm part of that tribe. And there's so many fucking men, they're not men. They're boys who can shave.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference. A man takes responsibility for his shit. I'm not speaking about women. Women do their thing, right? I'm not a woman. I don't know what it's like to walk in those shoes. But they have their things that they're better at than I am, right? I know that just from being married and being around daughters, it's okay to treat them differently because they think differently, right? It's not one is better than the other. I'm very, right. I think like I put things in boxes. That's how I think. I open a box, I take it out, I do some shit, I put the shit back in a box, I open another box, right? And at night, when I go to bed, I just close all my boxes. I go to sleep like a baby every night. My wife, she's like a tangled ball of wire. She doesn't have boxes. She's thinking about 1,000 things at the same time, right? And that's just the way she's wired. And from my experience with other women, little world, lots of women think like that. And so what I want to do is value that. That's so fucking important, the way you operate, the way you think, to bring that to bear to solve the problems that we're working on, because I'm box guy. You're wire person that can bring all these boxes together. It's like a beautiful fucking thing. What's wrong is when I look at somebody who's different, like you, like my wife, thinking like that, if I put it down, I minimize it. I minimize the value in it. You know what I mean? But I don't think there's anything wrong with treating a woman different than you treat a man, because they're different people. They're just different. Right. Not one better than the other. That's the bullshit.
Well, and that's the problem. I think that's it. I have no problem treating with difference as well, but we don't do it with that same level of respect. That I think is where the challenge is. And this is, this I think is where part of the problem is. Like, you think about it, you've got two engineers, and I've watched it, I've seen it. You've got 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 equally capable engineers or admins or assistants or whatever in a room, technical folks in a room, and you've got a mix. You've got a mix, male and female. And it's really interesting to watch vendors come in. It's really interesting to watch other people come in who maybe don't know that environment. And having run diverse teams, I watch it deliberately, because you'll see them, they'll be sitting, they'll be talking to the guys. And I'm like, why? What's the logic? Why are you doing that? Why are you not making eye contact with everybody around you? Why are you not focusing on everybody else? Is it because what's the logic there? I wish you're different, not a problem. Respect needed. Equal footing, absolutely.
Right.
And for the positives, again, perfect example. You hit it. I touched on it the other day. Somebody said something about, what do we need to change in this world? I'm like, simple. We need more matriarchal societies. I'm like, if we actually had a more equal footing from a matriarchal society, we might actually get some shit done. Because we won't be sitting here measuring dicks half the time. We might actually get a few things done. Now, do we need to all be run matriarchal? No. Do we need the positives that come with it? Absolutely. Do we need the balance from both sides? Yeah, if we could get our fucking shit together and actually understand what the hell balance is, which I think is also part of the problem.
Well, and I sort of agree with that, but I think everybody plays a role, right? Take the nuclear family, father, a mother, and whatever kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't replace the father role. You can't replace the mother role. They each have their own things that they're just amazing at, right? Mothers are very much, in general, now I'm speaking in generalities, but I've seen it in my own experience, my own household. My wife is very good at loving, taking care of, and there's lots of women I'm sure that aren't good at that, but in my household, she's just great at that shit. I can never do that.
Yeah.
I'm very good, logical, making sense out of shit, and that's what I'm relied upon. You know what I mean? And I think what we need to do is we need to fucking hold men accountable more for their role. You got to get fucking responsible. I'm so fucking tired of men. It happens a lot here in Mexico too, but men who get a woman pregnant and then leave.
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with you? I want to fucking strangle you right now. That's your child. Step up to the plate. You know what I mean? That's just one example. There's so many examples. Like my own son, I was telling you about him this week, right? I mean, he got a shit. He might die. But you know what? Whatever. I guess the word will spread that, whatever. But, and so I was talking to him about, my own issues, right? I have my own issues with addiction, and it's the three things, right? It's always three things, but if they're true, bad things are going to happen around me. If I'm bored, I have time on my hands, and I'm alone. I'm going to drink. Something's bad. It's just how I am. So I was talking to him about this. I'm like, so what do you do in your free time? He's like, well, I play video games and shit. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You have 3 kids.
Yeah, you shouldn't have time. The only time you might have time for video games is between, 10 or 11 at night and 1 in the morning. Maybe 2 at most.
Video game. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I give up. I mean, when you are responsible, because the same thing happens with a woman. I think for women, in general, again, fuck, I hate general, but in general, it seems like women don't do that.
Not in the same numbers. I think you're right. It's not in the same numbers. You look at percentages. I mean, there's all, it's the one thing I put in the post. There's always exceptions to the rule. No two ways about it. But you plot the graph, it's the exceptions, not the freaking the general rule of thumb, should we say? And that, again, that's a problem.
There's no subreddit dedicated to moms doing dangerous things while being left alone with the child. Just saying. Just saying.
Right.
But you're starting to see that more and more though. Like take pornography, for instance. That was solely a male thing for the longest time, but now women are doing it more in greater numbers. So it's like they're both crumbling apart, but somebody's got to step up and take this fucking thing,
Well, I think that's I look at it, and to me that's where I'm like, what can I do? The same thing with you two. It's like, what can we do? Is it making a noise? Is it calling individuals out? Is it leading by example? I mean, shit, I'm no fucking bloody saint on this thing. I've done my own stupid shit at a time. No two ways about it. However, sat down, figured out what I did wrong, figured out what I've done right, and gone, okay, think I got most of this shit together. Let's see if I can help others not make the same fucking mistakes.
It's professional code of conduct.
Yeah.
Right. So I tweeted something some while ago because I had heard of some fuckery happening at some other place. But basically it was, you're at work, not Tinder. This isn't, I get that office romance happens, but you're at work. And if everybody just does and is a professional and stays in that lane, well, then we should all be on equal footing. Every voice in the room should matter. There shouldn't be that, because where we start to go sideways is when we step outside of that and people think it's okay to leer or okay to hit on. I mean, you guys know, you've been to conferences. I've seen some dirty shit. I've seen it from both teams.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it more so from the guys than the girls. But I was just at a conference in Orlando where some of the sales girls were working the room like they were paid by the hour.
Right.
You know, so it was, but I think part of it is just going back to, Evan touched on it, it's accountability, but I also think it's code of conduct. This is professional code of conduct. No, if you step out of bounds, bam, hard smack. Not a meeting with HR where they're like, well, you know, let's watch this video again. No, wrong, bad, shame.
Right.
You don't do that. You wouldn't do it in a grocery store. Don't do it at work, right? I mean, it's weird like that.
And if you want to play that game, man, it's got to start with the CEO.
Yep.
Male or female, right? They've got to set that example, right? If you've got a male or a female CEO who's out, or other genders, right? I mean, I do want to be respectful of that, regardless of whether I agree with it, right? That's part of respect.
Yeah.
But if they're out, you know, at the strip clubs doing shitty things, and then you want to try to hold, you know, somebody else accountable, that's just the extra weight that comes with being a good leader. So it's got to start with setting a good example. You'll never find me in a strip club.
I agree. And I think the way that it's traditionally been handled is like all uncomfortable things. Here, watch a terrible training video. like that seems to be since visual media technology was invented. I'm guessing in the old days in Egypt, it was, here, read this terrible papyrus, right? We see
hieroglyph room. Go into the hieroglyph room.
Right? I mean, but I say it in jest, but also seriousness, because that is how we have, as a society, chosen to handle certain uncomfortable conversations. Hey, you keep falling victim to fraud. Watch an awareness video. Hey, we're sexually harassing our coworkers, and that's bad. Watch this terrible video. You guys have seen it, right? They're the worst videos ever.
Yeah.
And so, but we're not having that accountability conversation. We're not having that code of conduct that, you know, just like any good policy, if it lacks an enforcement mechanism, it's useless.
Well, let's take our own company, you know, as an example. What would happen here?
You would be unemployed. That's not how we do things. There's
just no video.
There's
right?
No, because we don't behave that way.
Well, and so for us, it started with core values, right? We have our core values. We have them, you know, on the wall as soon as you walk into the office that nobody goes to anymore, or fewer people go to. But we hire and fire on those things, right? There's no compromise. The number one rule is we don't lie. That's it. That's number one, right? And then it goes on down the list, right? Servant attitude, work hard, play hard. That's the hardest one for me to set a good example for. Team player, you know, bought into the mission. Those are all, but that first one, because I told you about that one time when I lied.
Yeah.
Did I tell you about that story?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And I was like, fuck, I'd have to fire myself if I don't come clean, like right now. And it was a white lie, right? They asked me if I'd ever been to South America, and I was like, oh yeah, for sure. And I was like, oh fuck, I never have. Damn it. But it's that integrity. There's no compromise. That's the fucking problem that so many of us have. It's like, well, he's a really nice guy, or, you know, she's a single mom. You know, I mean, it's like, no, these are the rules. They're on the table. You can't claim you didn't know. They're right there in front of you.
Yeah, if it wasn't such a prolific issue, then there's potentially a discussion to go, okay, you dumbass, you screwed up. You're gonna sit down with Evan for a while, and the pair of you are gonna be having conversations, and you're not gonna like it, and you got one more chance, that whole concept, But again, that's got to come down to the situation and the circumstance. But I think it's such a prolific issue that, to your point, the slap on the wrist, it's no fucking different than the fine structures we put in our industry. Oh no, I lost data. Oh, another fine. Well, I'll just pass on to the consumer. Who gives a fucking shit? Why do I need to bother fixing shit? I just pass the fines on to the consumer. I fill out some more paperwork, or I don't bother filling out the paperwork because there's so much fucking paperwork to fill out. I just take the fines if anybody's got the time to find me, and if anybody bothers finding out. And we see that in the industry. Now we see it in the humans. It's like, well, the worst I'm going to get is maybe a telling off. And by the way, unfortunately, what doesn't happen is name and shame. I don't know where I sit on the name and shame. It's really tough because on one hand, people need to know. To me, it's no different than a breach. It's if I put my hand up and go, hey, somebody got in through the front door and everybody else better lock your doors because they're out there, at least somebody knows. But the problem is now you've accused somebody. I don't know how you do the evidence. I don't know how I feel on the name and shame thing. Part of me wants the name and shame, but that's can potentially be a slippery slope.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is call somebody out who's innocent.
Well, there's that, but there's also a lesson I learned, right? So my wife is a lovely lady and sometimes gets inappropriate and uncomfortable attention she doesn't want when we're out in public. Okay. Yeah. There was some time many years ago that I went to the can at a restaurant. When I came back, some dudes chatting her up, whatever. And I could tell she was uncomfortable, but she was trying to be polite. And of course, me being, young, dumb, and full of testosterone, I think that's the saying. I got all, I'm getting ready to grab a chair because I weigh, 6 pounds soaking wet. So getting ready to pick up a chair or something and jack this dude's day up. And she just gives me the wave off. No. I got this under control, right? So, and then I watched him shrink as she destroyed his ego and just turned it into powder. I'm like, I don't know what you said to him. She's like, you don't want to know. She just crushed him, right? And in that moment, I learned, okay, sometimes our help isn't helpful. And so I think that the better way for us to help is to offer ourselves up and say, can we be of service? And if so, how best can we be of service? Otherwise, I think we're just perpetuating more of the same, which is that we think we know best. Don't worry, little lady, I'll save you. Well, some little ladies might like that, right? Some don't. Some like it some days, some don't like it other days.
But then you got to think about it too, because like nowadays, you're hearing people getting women primarily getting offended when a man holds the door open.
I've had it happen.
Now I didn't, and I've had this conversation because I've had it happen to me too. And she said, I can get the door myself. No, she said, I'm more than capable of getting the door myself. And I said, I absolutely understand that. That you are. I did it because I was showing respect.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't do it because I'm not capable. I would hold the door for a man as well. Mm-hmm. I held the door because I was respecting you. So don't confuse respect with, thinking you're not capable of something. I will step in and help people.
Right. But you will do it irrespective of race, creed, color, orientation, gender, anything like that. You're just going to step in and help. End of discussion. And I think if everybody else was the same way, we probably would have a few less issues.
Right. The problem is the guy holds the door and then he goes, hey.
Oh, yeah. That's
right? Okay. Because I've seen that too many times.
Yeah.
He punched that fucker in the gut. You know what I heard just this morning? A mutual friend of ours, Ryan. Mm-hmm. You probably know who it is.
I'll figure it out, or you can text me later.
Yeah, she was. So she was on the Daily Insanity this morning, right? We're having a great conversation. She's doing a really cool workshop coming up, or actually a tabletop and, you know, all this stuff. And she was explaining to me some of the challenges she has, you know, because she's not the CISO. She's kind of a deputy CISO, right? A level down maybe.
Yep.
And when she was first kind of stepped into that job, she had heard, I think more than once, she mentioned that somebody would say, well, you're just the CISO's mouthpiece. Right? Now, fuck you. Right?
Yeah.
Don't discount all my years of experience. Don't discount my education. Don't discount my integrity. Don't discount me because I'm female. And I mean, when she told me that, my face turned red. I was like, fuck, man. I would have. I don't know how some women can hold themselves back, because if whoever it is, right? That person deserves to get punched right in the fucking throat.
And that's part of the problem, is we don't do that. We used to do that. Remember in the old timey time when you minded your mouth, or you might be short some teeth.
Yeah.
And then we did away with that. This is what happens. Now, men have always been the number one threat to women. Unfortunately, statistically speaking, the most likely cause of a woman's demise is a man. The most likely cause of harm to a woman, and this is, you guys can Google this. This is facts.
No, I believe it. Yeah.
Is a man.
Did you just call me Jack?
Yeah, Mike. But and part of that goes back to the father issue, the men being men to lead. I am shocked how many times I interact with other men of my age who didn't get some of the basic foundation blocks of what I consider appropriate, healthy masculinity to be. Not toxic, not above anybody, not any of that mess, but in what I consider for myself and in my circle to be the appropriate, healthy level of masculinity. And they don't have that. They either have too much backbone that's crooked, or they don't have any at all, or they're just outright confused. And if you hand them a screwdriver, they're lost. So
that's why
now, that not too big of a jab against you there, Chris.
that's why code of ethics has always been a struggle for me. I get it, but I don't need a fucking code of ethics, you know.
But you were given one. Hold on, I've heard the story of how you were raised.
I was raised to the difference between right and wrong.
Code of ethics.
And to me, it's so fucking black and white. And so you'll see people do things like, Chris, you mentioned this one place you used to work, right? It's okay to lie because everybody else is lying. It's like, who the fuck raised you?
Yeah, exactly.
Where's your fucking father? We need to punch him in the nuts.
Well, and that's the problem, is there's not a lot. Unfortunately, there's a statistically low number of fathers doing quality fathering and setting boundaries and setting, because that's the whole thing, is it's the lack of the boundary. I know I was a free range child. I was free range, right? And I paid the price for that. Right? Now, when I became a father, I was probably too restrictive, right? So as part of the bounce back, where I'm like, well, I know what happened because there were no structure in my house, right? But a lot of the kids that I met throughout my son's life, these young men would come to me for that fatherly something because they weren't getting it, and they wanted that boundary. They wanted somebody to show that they gave a shit. And I think if we continue to do what we're doing and then glorify, I saw some crazy posts from some incel, which, why is that even a thing? You're mad that you're not getting laid, and by being mad about not getting laid and behaving the way you do is the reason you're not getting laid. And it's that back to that circle logic, right? But there's just not enough dad. So Ev, when you were talking about what you were working with your son on, right? My comment to you was, he's blessed to have you, because I know for a fact there is not enough good dad out there to go around. And then you wind up with, shitty men who
some of the shit that we're dealing with, unfortunately.
well, yeah, and I'm not saying that's like the universal truth to all this, but it is definitely seeming to be a contributing factor.
As a father, as soon as my first child was born, that became a huge responsibility for me, right? My responsibilities in order, I mean, truly in order, is God, obviously, but my wife, my children, friends, work, in that order. Now I spend a hell of a lot of time at work because that's part of the top one, right? And it kind of permeates all the way through. It provides a living, makes it so I can feed, all that stuff, but it's in that order. And I don't get how people disrespect their wives. That's your fucking responsibility. Or I've had so many men over the years come and complain to me about their wife. And again, another really close friend that both you and I know, right? Complain about his wife. He's like, what should I do? I said, buy a fucking mirror. You're the fucking problem. What do you mean? Be the fucking man that is attractive. Be the man that steps up and be the man that's there when, your best friend in the world needs you. Do these things and watch the change, right? Your responsibility. Your kids are misbehaving, your fucking responsibility.
Yep.
So step up. And I know that they're great fathers who still have shitty kids, but still your responsibility. It just,
oh yeah.
Sorry.
Right. No, and to my credit, having raised a very rough teenager who gave me one of the best phone calls I've had yet. So there's hope. I'm holding out hope. I was hard-headed. It took me a while. I think he's got the same genes, so he's probably got the same problem. But no, you're absolutely right. But nobody's having those conversations. This is the whole reason Amy, my wife, does what she does for the women, because mom's not talking to daughter. Like this isn't, we're sucking as a species right now in having meaningful conversations with each other. That I think if we did more of that, we'd see less of this trash that we see, because there would be that accountability. There would be that.
For sure.
We don't behave this way because those people over there are looking at me right now. And if I behave this way, even if I want to, I'm not going to do it because they're looking at me right now. And I know that if I behave this way, I'm not part of the club anymore. I lose my tribal status. But I think we've over embraced individualism to the point of isolationism.
But almost like we've overemphasized individualism almost to where it's circled back to this tribe mentality, because we all compare ourselves against each other, right? We're all like, well, so-and-so is doing it, so it must be okay for me to do it. And like, no, it's not. Why don't you be the best you can be and let them be the best them they can be? Focus on you. Winners focus on winning.
Yep.
Losers focus on winners.
Yep.
So you want to be a loser? Yeah, go focus on the winners. You want to be the best person you can be the best person you can be, right? Be respectful, integrity, don't lie, love people, you know what I mean? And that shit is, the golden rule, right? Treat others the way you want to treat it. Start there. It's fuck, man. It drives me crazy. And like when Facebook went down this week, the first thing I thought was, oh, there went thousands of marriages down the drain, or you just repaired you just repaired 1,000 marriages because they got their head out of their fucking phone. They're like, oh, hey, you're pretty good looking. Damn, we should go on a date.
Right.
Without our phones. I think that's another thing that we can do is we can start, I'm going to be teaching right down there, that school, elementary kids, when I move down here. I teach them how to use computers. I'm really going to focus on, let's teach you how to use computers responsibly. We missed that boat here in America, man. I mean, totally
no,
missed that boat.
No, we did not. No, I hold out hope.
We're swimming. We're swimming.
I'm working on. Give me just a few more weeks, and I'm about to change the conversation.
Nope. Let me kill off a couple of generations.
Well, better get after it, because I'm a couple weeks away from changing the way we approach this problem, at least for the group that I can influence. Right? I can't influence all groups. I can't help everybody. I want to say, just like my wife wanted to come home today with all the kitties. That's not reality. We can't do that. Right. So I can't save everything or everyone, But what I can do is try to make meaningful change over the things I'm able to influence that leave it better than I found it, that leave it set up in a way where things like appearance, like I'm the weird kid. I've always been the weird kid. I was uncomfortable about that for a long time. And finally I said, fuck it. I don't care what any of you people think. I'm me, right? Make it so that we treat each other on that peer level, that respect level. And I'm going after this from several different angles that involve technology. You know, bro culture permeates more than just our industry, right? What is our industry most also associated with? Gaming. What is our industry most also associated with? Right? Technology and you know,
Right.
certain forums. How many, you know, what do you think the male to female ratio is on 8chan? Right? So going after some of that, creating those codes of conduct, reintroducing, and I know it sounds crazy, the idea of respect and morality, not my morality, but morality, your morality, somebody's morality. There has to be a piece of you that says, that's not quite right. Whether you believe in my God, your God, no God, all the gods, none of that matters. You're a human. And I guarantee you on this planet, in your lifetime, you have had a feeling of something ain't right, that doesn't sit well with me. So whatever that is, that's your morality. But we seem to have abandoned that for likes and shares. We seem to have abandoned that for inclusion and viral status.
Yeah, and bring that back to, it's selfish. All that shit is selfish, right? It's all like, I do this for me. I do this for me. I do this for me. It's all me, 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 me. How about you do it for them? How about you do it for somebody else, right? And that's kind of what I'm going through with my son. Drop that shit. This isn't about you. It's about your 3 kids. It's about your wife. Drop that shit. Gaming? What the fuck is wrong with you? I mean, yes, game in moderation, but not 6 hours a night.
Right.
You know?
I think it's the consequences as well. I mean, we talked a little bit about it. There are little to no consequences that I think, and again, I look back at our industry, there are a number of people that we know in the industry who get away with this stuff on a daily basis and continue to. And they're not held accountable. They're not held for their actions. They're not, nobody's, draconian as it might seem, nobody's held to put a sign around their freaking neck and said undesirable. Let's be perfectly honest.
So this is a slide I'm giving next week. I think it's very relevant and poignant to what we're talking about.
I like it.
Oh yeah, no, I like that. That's nice. Oh, I see the warning sign and the Hamlet one as well. That's awesome.
Right. But the one I want to talk about for this particular one is that digital encourages socially unacceptable behavior, and digital behavior has a real impact on people. Now, I ran out of white space for bullet points, but if I was to add one, it would be that unacceptable digital behavior has now begun to bleed back into the physical world.
I would add that as a separate slide. That is one bullet point on its own. And I would have.
Deal.
I would.
Deal.
Yeah, because
there we go.
Because to me, that's one image. That's a very powerful statement as well. Because I mean, it ruins people's lives. I think it's. There are people coming into this industry full of encouragement, full of talent, full of amazingness. They're leaving the industry in droves because we can't keep our fucking dick in our trousers and stop talking about it.
Well, no doubt, right? Like, have I ever told you guys the way we handled the whole dick pic problem in our house? Before he was given a camera phone, the day he got a phone that had a camera on it, he was informed. I gave him the talk about the phone and the things, and my wife just reinforced it and went, if I ever found out you sent a picture of your dick to anybody, I'm going to tear it off you. Don't do it. Do not do it. Like, yeah. And he looked at me with them eyes. It's like, is she just talking trash? And I look back at him with fear. Sorry, man. I'm sorry. Like, I gave him the beans, right? Where I'm like, no, seriously, she meant what she just said. And that goes back to that parenting, that accountability, the guidelines, the guardrails. But I do think we have to have a new conversation as a society, because we have blended the digital that doesn't work on our brain the same way the physical does.
Yep.
While guys will hit on women at conferences, very few of them will speak to them at a conference the way they will in their DM.
Right.
But the impact of that DM is no less traumatic than if they did it in person.
Arguably, there's more to it, because you don't. If I walk up to you, and again, we've had this conversation. If I walk up to you in real life, you can see me coming. You know who I am. There's a visual aspect to it. Yada yada yada. In the digital world, you just don't see it coming, and you don't know who it's come from, and you don't know where it's come from, and there's a level of anonymity, and I've had that. Eddie Mize, I and a couple of others went through some pretty nasty stuff several years ago because of our association with a fairly well-known individual. And we got targeted pretty heavily. And Eddie pretty much so went offline because they went after him and his kids and his family and everything. A couple of us went on the offensive in a fairly nasty way because we have that capability. Now, not everybody does. That's the problem. And so it's too easy for somebody to hide behind a keyboard. And there are, again, back to repercussions and back to accountability.
Yeah, they're getting bolder.
No shit.
Well, and another thing, man, I don't think fathers know the actual influence they have on their children so many times. You know, there are statistics and studies, you know, all over the place that show a daughter, the man that she's most likely to marry is most like her father. You know, they marry like kind, because that's what was modeled for them, right? So if you walk through life kind of just thinking that there's always eyes on me, somebody's always watching. I might be online and think, well, I'm anonymous. Well, there's somebody just, you know, a family member who just walked by, or you talk to a friend, whatever. There's always eyes on you. And, you know, and sons learn so much about what it's like to be a man from the man that they grew up with, right? So they see dad, you know, surfing porn all the time and doing stupid shit online all the time. Well, then they're more likely to probably do the same thing, right? And I've had that discussion with other boys who are now men, and they've tried to use that excuse with me. That excuse that, well, my dad did it. I don't give two fucks what your dad did. You're doing it now.
You're a fucking lemming. Are you literally going to leap off that same fucking cliff, you dickhead? Let's see. No.
Yeah, whatever happened to that, by the way? I was raised on the concept that if your friends jumped off a bridge, would you jump? Like, drilled. At least 10,000 times in our life as a child?
Between that and sullying the name, you will not take the name into disrespect. You know, the Roberts name and the family name and the hill name. And yeah.
Here's a crazy observation that I'm not sure is scientifically accurate, but it's from my life experience. I have never met in my life a Asian bro. I've met bro.
I have.
Have you? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Generally speaking, though, that culture still and Indian culture.
No,
kind of the
Indian's
Asian,
worse. The Indian caste system. I highlighted that in a fucking post.
The caste, the way they do. Well, that's what I'm saying. They do their system like with the huts and thing.
No,
right?
It's a hierarchical system. I'm running into it actually in a project at the moment that it was.
If you're in one layer of society, you're not getting out of it.
Not only that, the societal structure there as well, especially from the caste system that this dickhead that I'm dealing with at the moment is, there's no respect for the women, none whatsoever. Yeah, and
you read stories all the time, men standing around beating a woman.
I thought they had well, I must be confusing them with the different culture, but I know that like traditionally speaking, the family, to your point, Chris, about the don't sully the name. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
you will conduct yourself at a standard,
yes.
or you might come up missing. Like it's not, they don't play. There's no soft. I was watching some Asian comedian. He was talking about, you know, the upbringing. Like, you do not, no.
Well,
Asian
neighbors will help.
but you bring up a good point. The abuse of women by men is cross culture.
Yes.
It's all cultures.
That's
it's
true.
Not just in America. It's Russia, it's in Europe, it's in Africa, it's in Mexico, it's everywhere. That's a human trait issue. You know, and I think, you know, knowing that we know what we know and knowing the difference between right and wrong, it behooves us to do the most we can to try to set things straight, you know?
I think that's my thing is, you know, we recognize it, it's acknowledged. And I think, Ryan, I think it was you that made the point, which is rather than just rushing in like fools, it is taking that step back and going, look, you know, I threw a grenade into the LinkedIn cesspool. How can we help?
And I think that really is the best way for us to support. I was having an interesting conversation. Do you guys remember the shit show from Gurkhan where the young man had mentioned the homelessness? That was his, if he was king of the world.
Yeah.
So him and I were having a conversation, and being comfortable, I asked him, so what do y'all think of Karen? Like Karen pissing everybody off. Do white ladies just need to quiet down? Because I personally think white ladies need to shut the fuck up. I think they're causing more trouble than problems they're solving. And the response was, too much of a good thing is not a good thing. Right. So I think this particular situation holds true. The best thing we can do is just say, we're here to help make a difference if we can, if it's wanted, if it's needed, but please do provide guidance on the best way for us to contribute to a better situation. I get nervous about us making our own decisions about what would or wouldn't. Now, having said that, I do think it's the obligation of every upright man, not boy who could shave, to hold his fellow man accountable to being not a douchebag.
Well, that's it too. I mean, it's calling it out, right? Even in my own even in my own circle of friends, sometimes we get, you know, everybody does, male, female, it doesn't matter. Sometimes we do childish things. I mean, I do for sure. And it you know, it's holding people accountable, even in your circle, right? Because there'll be times, you know, not going to call out names, but, you know, close friends who have like, brother, no, we're not, no, you need to fucking step up. You know, and it's uncomfortable, it's awkward, but that's part of me being a man too, right? If I don't say something, if I just allow that behavior to continue, what kind of man am I?
Right. Well, and that's it. It's and unfortunately, guys, we are now the old men on the block. But there used to be like, okay, so community, like I'm old enough to remember there was a time before now. And that time worked a little bit different. And yes, it had its negatives, and I'm not advocating for the negatives to come back, but there was that culture thing, that community thing. And it did span the different races as well. Like it was a known fact that if you screwed up in the community, you were liable to get your ass whooped several times on the way home. And then you get your ass whooped again, right? Like people, my cousin, who's only a couple of years older than me, got paddled. The school called mom and dad and said, are we beating them here? Or are you beating them there? I mean, it was that straight to the point. The child's getting a beating. We're happy to dole it out. But if you'd rather do it, we're also happy to let that happen. It wasn't the child not getting correction. It was
But another thing that we did when we did those corrections is it was over. You know, I beat your ass and then it's over.
Yep.
Right. I don't trust you yet. You can build that shit back, but I'm not going to hold it against you for the rest of your life either. You know, and I think a lot of times we hold these grudges where it's like, well, you fucked up. So now you're always a fuck up. It's like, well, no, there's redemption. I've seen it happen. I'm proof of that. I've spent plenty of times in jail. I've done enough fucking things. I've not raped women by any means, but certainly manipulated my share of women to get them into bed over the years, you know, and what the fuck? If I saw the old version of me, you know, in this room right now, I'd beat the shit out of them because that's the kind of person I was, right? But there's redemption. Don't hold it against them forever.
Right.
Let it go, you know?
But again, okay, so we'll go back to this incident we got on the Slack channel. I need honest redemption. I don't need this. This is the actions. This goes back to another one of the old sayings. I remember again getting beaten into me. Actions speak louder than words.
The words. Yep.
Always.
Yep. So
That's
what
my
happened?
wife's.
So if you grew up on the other side of the pond, so if you were getting the same talking to that we were,
yeah,
I mean, what, you know, and I'm guessing there are probably sayings in other cultures and languages that are
pretty much the same shit.
That,
oh
right?
yeah.
So
yeah.
What is it? Is it the digital? Did we, when we embrace the digital and this supposed anonymity, gain a such a sense of bravery to do the stupid?
Well, I
and
think
then that went on unchecked for long enough that it became the norm.
there's been studies on this too, believe it or not, and they tie it back, I think, to the Industrial Revolution. That was when it was, because you used to be on a farm, right? So mom and dad were there. You had this unit, right? And the unit pretty much stayed intact. And then, you know, the Industrial Revolution, now dad goes off to work, right? Dad goes off to work and dad's now hanging out with the guys, drinking beers after work. And then, you know, and it just kind of goes on and on after that. That's the theory. I don't know if it's true or not, but it seems to make sense.
I'd say, and I couldn't disagree, I'd say, but okay, so we evolve. Back to this conversation. I mean, you go back to the unit's been around.
Evolve or devolve?
Arguable. Arguable on that one. Yeah. That unit, I mean, that unit's been around for 60,000 years, probably longer. I mean, we came out of the African continent, 200,000-300,000 years ago, and you go back before then, so maybe 600,000-700,000, several 100,000 years ago, we had that unit in the cave, and everybody had their role, everybody had their position. And you're right, and probably Industrial Revolution probably accelerated it, and then I've got to argue that the digital revolution just kicked it into fucking warp speed.
Yep.
I mean, because it's, you know, I mean, the Industrial Revolution, then you had the wars. I mean, you had the Great War, and very closely, unfortunately, followed by the Second World War. Mm-hmm. So you had two big ass damn wars behind each other, which took that family unit and split it in all different ways, and showed people who were on the farms that there was a world out there, and that there were things you could do and get away with, and yada yada yada, all that kind of stuff. But I think the digital side of the world, I mean, you know, Ryan, you're right. I mean, we've all had the same conversations with our parental figures. Thou shalt not sully the family name, otherwise thou will be beaten. Thou shalt fucking be polite and be respectful, irrespective of who the hell it is.
Yeah.
You know, actions speak louder than words. And you're right, there's probably a list of the ruddy things.
And I, again, free-range child still got that instilled, right? I was definitely allowed a greater degree of latitude than most, but even still within the loose confines of the parental structure I had, you did not pick on people for their differences, their disabilities. You yes sir and no ma'am, and that's what needs to come out your mouth. That's a stranger, and you don't know who they are. And you need to.
You're a child. You will be seen and not heard.
Yeah. What the hell are you doing? Nobody said for you to interrupt this conversation between adults right now. I don't know what you're about to ask for, but you're going to not get whatever that was for like the next month.
Yeah.
Or when you are getting disciplined, don't say a fucking word.
Yeah. Don't. No. No.
If
No.
don't make a fucking excuse. Even if dad asks you a question, it's still better to go, give him that look, because whatever fucking answer you're going to give him is the wrong fucking answer.
Right?
Oh dear.
Yeah, just shut the fuck up.
Did you guys ever get this one? If I wanted your fucking opinion, I'd give it to you.
No, my dad never gave me that.
I didn't get that. I don't think I got that one. Let's put it that way. I don't
That one
remember
was
it.
more in my teenage years when I was trying to voice my concerns.
But here's another thing. Like, look at the work ethic. It's so obvious. Like when I come here to Mexico, there's a fucking work ethic here. Oh my God. I'm like, holy. There's a guy this morning. He's our waiter in the morning. His name is Juan. The guy is working nonstop. Doesn't take breaks. Doesn't like, and you know what he gets paid? He gets paid like 75 cents an hour.
Jeez, yeah.
I was telling Juan, I go, in America, we're paying people 15, 20 bucks an hour and we can't get them to work.
Correct.
We can't, we got open positions everywhere. Like, come work. And no.
Taco John's could not open today. They had a restaurant that couldn't open because no staff. And so
I watched Juan work because I want to learn, right? I mentioned Maria on a tweet a while back, because I think they're fascinating. And so I'm watching him do his work. Well, this morning I went down to the storage room. We have a storage room downstairs, and Marlos and I had noticed on like Monday, right? It was just not trash, but they were putting trash in there. So Marlos and I said, well, we'll go down there like Thursday or something, just clean it up ourselves. Not a big deal. We went down there this morning and it was spotless. We're like, who the fuck did this? I'm like, I bet you it was Juan. So he came upstairs. Juan, did you clean that? Because nobody told him.
Yeah.
He didn't have to do it.
Right.
He took initiative. He did it.
So
we used to be like that in America. We really did. And I think that's, it's like, but that's one of those things. I have work ethic because my father.
How much time did Juan spend on his Facebook?
Right.
I'll ask him tomorrow.
Okay. Because I think that's a thing. Well, you guys know they did a study. So Chris, Evan, I've watched you guys do this. I know you do this. You put your phone to the left or the right of your keyboard.
Yeah.
As do I. Do you know where a millennial puts their phone, or those that come after them? Between themselves and the keyboard.
Oh, interesting.
Center.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, I know that. Well, and I can go with
that's a thing.
And even though I do use my phone a lot,
Interesting.
I can go without my phone for many, many hours and be just fine.
Yeah.
I leave it at home on purpose.
You can't do that.
Saturday for me. That's my Saturdays. My time with Jen.
I can walk the dog, leave the phone at home. Whatever it is, it'll be okay. I'm not responsible for the nuclear codes. Whatever it is, 30 minutes ain't gonna make or break it.
Right. But back to that work ethic thing, man. I think that's a big thing too.
Speaking of phones, my text messages are getting blown up by what the hell's what have I got then? Understood. Check signal. Rachel is sitting me up. What have I done now? What do they break?
Who knows?
What's she saying?
That's the thing I think that high achievers like us struggle with is, because sometimes we take the work a little bit too seriously, but separating yourself and actually thinking that the world's not going to end if I do it. You know what I mean?
Sorry,
you got so many emails like, if I skip these meetings this afternoon, it's like, well, no, it won't. You'll be fine.
It is tough. And, myself, I've taken to thanking all the wait staff for coming to work. That's my opening line now when I meet my wait staff. Like, hey, thanks for coming to work today. I appreciate it. And kid you not, every single time the response is, thank you. Like, I really appreciate that. I know how short staffed we are. I know that my being here means I'm working 2 to 3 times harder than if I didn't come in, right? Because like they're trying to cover. I've been to restaurants that whole sections are like, yeah, sorry, we don't have any available seating. And I'm looking at like half the restaurants open. Like, what are you Nope, sorry, because they don't have the staff to keep up with the service level. Oh, what?
So,
Is that the doggy?
I'm squirreling. I'm squirreling for a second. Jen just came in and grabbed Milo for a little bit. This is Milo hamming it up with the bride.
Oh,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Dog. Yeah, totally. Total ham. That dog is an absolute ham. He's loving it up here, though. He's down here. Sorry, we're down here. Not up here, we're down here.
I think dogs are the perfect example of love.
Oh, unconditional. Like,
Yep. If you want to learn how to love and not be racist and not be judgmental and sexist or anything, love like a dog.
yeah, that's a really good way of looking at it.
yep.
You know?
We need that as a freaking, well, that needs to be a badge or something for crying out loud.
Yeah.
It's
I do
hard
look-
to.
I
Sorry,
look
go
at I look at my own dog and I think that I'm like, wow, I gotta love like that more. I mean, I learned from my fucking dog.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. I mean, I look at him. He's the other two are at home. The other reason I'm keeping the phone handy is the Rugrats at home. She's got a friend with her, and so they're house sitting, and they've got the other two dogs with them, and so keeping the place sorted. But yeah,
Cool.
he's having a riot of a time. He went paddling in the river down here, and now she's been hamming it up with the bride by the looks of it. Bless him.
That's
I'm
awesome.
at a
man.
wedding. It feels really weird to be at a wedding.
You're getting married again?
No, hell no. God, if I ever go through that shit again, Jesse has already threatened to shoot me. Yeah, no, I've tried that a few times, and I will not be doing that again.
Yeah.
I figure
One-time rodeo for this kid. That
Good.
was part of the deal.
I'm glad for you. That I do not look down on it. I don't look badly on it. I just I made some interesting choices.
I get it, man, and it's got to be the right match and constant renegotiation. We just renegotiated the cat, like put the cat down, and we had to do the because it came home, and in her grief, she's picked out 2, 3, 5, 10, all the kitties. Okay, and we were going to go down this road. Now, originally the deal was I don't do the cats. This is way back when we first got married. She's like, I want a cat. I'm like, no, that's not a thing. and we brokered and negotiated. We get the one cat. Well, apparently the cat became lonely, and the cat needed another cat friend, and so that negotiation began. And then one time I was gone doing some things for some people, and the absence of her husband required a new kitten to fill the void. So this time around, I come home and she's already got like pairs picked out. She's like, they come as a pair.
Oh, shit. But that's you know what, you negotiate that way because you just do. It's one of you just do because it's the right thing.
I'm not a monster, bro. It brings her happiness. She can have whatever. Does the cat make you a happier person? And by you being a happier person, I have a happier life. Cool. Now we have limits because left unchecked, she is a cat lady. Like
she's the cat lady.
Oh my God. Like I'm afraid for if I go before her. It's not going to be good.
That's like Jen with the horses. I mean, it's the same thing with the horses. It's they bring her so much peace. And it's not pleasure. It's peace. They bring her peace. They bring her clarity. They allow her to escape from the craziness of her workday and the business and everything else she does. So, I mean, who the hell would I be to say, well, no, you've got enough. Number one, she out-earns me. Number two, she's kicking ass. Number three, who the fuck am I to decide what she should and shouldn't be doing? Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I love it. And hell, I see the side benefits. It's fantastic. With the dogs, she takes all the lessons for how she's training these 13, 14, 15, 1600 pound animals, applies it to the dogs, and I just sit there and I'm like, I'm just going to sponge. I'm absorbing all of this in because I need to learn.
Well, and the key to so much of that is the respect. You take the time to notice the things, the value they bring. right,
Mhm.
to a relationship, right? There's certain things that Marla sucks at. There are certain things that she is just amazing at, right? It's mind-boggling, amazing, right? So yeah, I'll poke fun at her for the shit she sucks at, when she tries to do it. Like this morning, it was funny. She swears that the neighbor is cartel. And she's like obsessed with this thing. So she's like, they're cartel. I'm positive. And I'm like, okay, why? She goes, I saw a TV show. And I just rolled laughing. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So you think they're cartel because you saw a TV show and they look like the TV show? Well, I did some reading too. I'm like, all right, might want to double check, on that. But it's stuff like that like but even that you find adorable. And you find that stuff in other people too, and you take the time to actually get to know them.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, everybody brings value. Every single fucking person on the planet provides value. I told you guys about the talk with Quentin a few weeks ago. I met Leo this week, took him, got him some food. That guy provides value. I don't know what the values actually are. I didn't spend a lot of time getting to know Leo because he talks way too fucking fast. And I was like, bro, you got to slow down, man. And he's like, I tried, but I can't. I'm like, all right, let's just get you a Big Mac or a Whopper and get you on your way. Because he stopped, he stopped. We were in downtown Puerto Vallarta and he's like, and he had a shirt that said, that he was selling that said, fuck Trump. And he's like, hey, will you buy my shirt? And I'm like, I'm not really against. I mean, I'm not a fuck Trump. I'm not a fuck Biden kind of guy. I'm just kind of like, yeah, there were things he did well. There's things he really sucked at. And there's things he did, whatever. So
Yeah.
like, so I'm not the guy that's going to buy your fuck Biden shirt. He's like, well, I'm homeless and I'm trying to get to whatever. I'm like, all right, well, what do you need, man? He's like, well, you have any money? And I'm like, well, I don't give people that don't know money.
Right. Yep.
I said, are you hungry? He goes, yeah, I'm really hungry. Pick a place, man. We'll go get some food. He's like, there's a Burger King right over there. All right, let's go to Burger King. You pick whatever you want off the menu and whatever. And then we talked along the way. I picked up some things, but for the most part, it was just like, it's fucking exhausting because he talks so fucking fast. And I was like, all right, it only cost me 155 pesos. So I was like, man, you're a cheap date. Mucho gusto.
Such a better person than I am. I have to. No, you are. I mean, I'll do stuff with Denver Rescue. I do a bunch of stuff with like Denver Rescue Mission, a bunch of other things. But I maybe because I've done the stuff with those places, I tend not to do the stuff from like the streets or something. And it's just one of those. Yeah, you're just better than I am as far as that goes, by far and away. Just nicer.
No, not a comparison. Not a comparison, man. We all got. That's just another thing, right? To the point of you have value. Everybody has value. You have value in different places. It's not better or worse. There are some things that I just suck at, right? And so I try not to do the things I suck at. I try to focus on the things that I'm good at. And Leo has value. I don't know what whatever. I know he provided value to my life because we got to talk and we got to share some time and
yeah.
But like everybody, even the dickheads, even the guys that are just like the worst, there's value there. And it's whether or not I got time to spend with you to figure it out. But a lot of times people are like that because they're very little bitty men on the inside, right? They got no self-esteem. So they got to come out like, I'm CISO of the year and Hall of Famer and all this other bullshit. It's like, yeah, you suck at all that stuff because you're focused on yourself. You don't realize that this is about other people. The great CISOs aren't out there fucking telling their shit all the time. So let's get to talking about who you really are and why you feel like you have the need to do that. Why can't you just be you? So I think there's a lot of that too, man. It's a lot of just like getting to know people and figure out what the fuck your deal is. And sometimes you just got to shut them out too, right? I mean, it's just so fucking toxic. It's like, maybe somebody else will be able to resonate with you and, fix your shit. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of that. We just need to spend more time. Stop jumping to conclusions so much.
I gotta be. I'm back to my bodies. You're right. There is a use for everybody, and for some people, it's fertilizer.
Maybe.
And a warning to others, and a warning to others. Sorry. Well, actually, no. Sorry, not sorry. Rachel and I are having a conversation. I don't know if she's doing the same thing with you two, but we're having a bit of a conversation, and it's another Bryson type of conversation. This just fucking pisses me off. It really pisses me off because, again, there are people in this industry that do not deserve to be in this industry. And I will be judge, jury, and executioner on that one. Fuck you all. I'm taking the dictator view on this one.
But that's like I was telling my son again, and I know I come from a Christian worldview, but because he thinks he can. We do a lot of that shit in like secret, right? We don't want anybody else to know, right? Well, there's a reason why you don't want anybody else to know, because deep down it's wrong. Deep down it's a fucking sin, and the only way you can take care of a sin is to fucking kill it. Pull it out into the light, make it known, and fucking murder it. You can't manage it. I mean, and this is coming from an addict, right? This is coming from somebody who's been there. You can't minimize it. It's going to be no. You gotta fucking kill it. And that's why. And one part of killing it is to make it known. You got to drag it out into the street, drag it out into the light. So I don't fault people for outing people, as long as you got it right. You know what I mean? You definitely don't want to. You want to make sure you didn't out somebody that shouldn't have been outed.
Yes. Yeah. I think, and that's and again, there are definitely some which it's unfortunately blatantly obvious. So
let's out it.
Yeah, well, that's this one at the moment is not mine to out. This will be a conversation. It sounds like Rachel. It sounds like it's getting attention, shall we say? And from the individual in question, I know he'll definitely deal with it. But he's got backup. Let's just put it that way, and that's loud and clear as far as this goes. So, we'll find this one out. But I mean, Bryson's another one.
And how much of that though is perpetuated by the lawyer at the company who made the risk decision?
Lawyers are evil.
Up was I mean, I'm just saying. I've been in HR meetings. I've seen things happen. I've had to be the guy that's like, so this is what we found on the laptop.
Yeah.
So, you got, and there, I've seen it with my own eyes where it's like, well, so this is the part where you leave, and we'll take it from here, and then it just kind of fizzles away like it didn't happen.
Like back to that one organization that Evan mentioned, the Lies Are Okay. The Lies Are Okay organization. We had 2 instances inside HHS where individuals were interacting with some of their folks, 2 people in particular, and arguably there was enough material to report it to their HR team. And I mean, this is 2021 for fuck's sakes. And the HR team took it and we're doing an investigation, and that was the last we fucking heard of it.
Yep.
And that I mean, between that and the fucking, hey, lies are okay because everybody's doing it, it was fuck you.
Yep.
Just, this is 2021 for fuck's sakes. I mean, seriously,
I know we live in the Twilight Zone. So if we're going to live in the Twilight Zone now and everything's just weird, can we at least try to fix this one? I mean, what's it going to take? Like, everybody knows that's not okay. And those are the same dudes, by the way, that if that happened, if they had a spouse, right, and somebody behaved that way to their spouse, they'd be stabbing them in the neck.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't get. That's what I don't get. It's okay for me to do it, but it's not okay for somebody else to do it.
Right. I'm still here. I'm just not on video.
And it wasn't okay for anybody to do it. So I don't know.
Well, that's
grimy dudes piss me off.
So many of these things are binary things, right and wrong, right? There's not in between. It's
Just-
right or it's
you
wrong.
don't trip old ladies and you don't grab random ass. Like,
Right?
like I'm just saying, like,
There's just some things that are so obviously and blatantly wrong. You know, and I think things like it all comes back to respect and disrespect. You know what I mean? I would never do anything to anybody. You just can't go wrong when you respect people. You know what I mean? Like, there's no thought of like, oh, I could really take advantage of this Mexican waiter who's so fucking nice to me. The thought doesn't even cross your mind. No, that's a man who's got, you know, a family at home. You know, a lot of time we've been speaking. We've had a lot of fun getting to know taxi drivers here. I don't know why.
Because at 3 o'clock in the morning, when you want ice cream, you now know who you can call.
Yeah, but it's weird because you get like 30 minutes in the car with them, and you know, you start off with, you know, hablas inglés, yeah, and then it's always un poquito, and like, oh, okay, you know, I hablo español poquito,
Espanol, yeah.
and then it just kind of starts from there. But man, every one of these people are just so fucking amazing. They're not just a taxi driver,
Yeah.
not just a waiter, not just anything, right? They're like human beings, and they deserve, you know, that level of respect, and we've lost that in so many different ways. And so I would never touch a woman inappropriately, because that's a woman who has a family, who has there's value, right? It's not just an ass.
right.
See, I don't get it.
And here's the
Except
other
for my
thing.
wife.
Here's the other thing. I
touch
don't.
my wife's ass often. That's
Well,
fine.
that's different. That's different. She wants that. But what I don't understand is why so many guys don't get how it works. So I've joked for many years I should write a book, and I genuinely think I might have to now, because men seem not to get how this whole equation works. And I'm speaking very narrow and specifically to a heterosexual relationship, not to the exclusion of any others, but simply for this example. If she's into you, bro, you're gonna know. She's gonna go out of her way to make that clear to you. Like,
Right.
It's not gonna be a fucking mystery. If she's not into you, if you find yourself guessing,
Yeah.
no, just no.
Right.
Just stop what you're doing. No is the answer. Move on with your day. If she's into you, there will be zero mystery. Right?
Well, and try this one on.
You know what I mean? Like, I know it's
try
been
this
some
one
years
on-
since you dated, but
Well, try this one on for size, man. If I'm not secure with myself, how do you think the woman would feel secure with you? You know what I mean? It's like this, like, you have to feel comfortable being alone, right? I mean, be the guy that's okay sitting at a table by himself, right? That's the kind of shit that's sort of attractive, versus the guy who's, you know, going to buy you a drink and, you know, whatever the fuck your game you're playing. It's like, because I played those games, man, back in the day. Stupid shit, man. But it wasn't, you didn't have a real relationship until I kind of got my own shit together. You know, I mean, my wife and I, we had, you know, like most marriages, you know, you have you know, ups, downs. And there was a time when truly she was just being, what is it? Ignored probably by me. I was just working all the time and doing shit. And I thought that's what a man does, right? A man goes to work, comes home. I'm not cheating. I'm not doing anything weird like that. You know, and then, you know, I do hobbies and whatever. And no, that's not what this relationship was supposed to be about, right? It's supposed to be about a friendship, a partnership, a bond, you know, that was, and so I was doing it because I was selfish. I didn't even recognize that there were other needs and whatever, that shit, whatever. And we went to a counseling, we started going to counseling, went to the first counseling session, and it dawned on me. It was like I got hit by a baseball bat. And on the way home from the counseling session, I told my wife two things, and I wouldn't suggest you do these two things, but I told her, number one, I never loved you. And that hurt her. She goes, what do you mean? Like, not the way I'm supposed to love you, not selfless. You know, I'm not giving you shit. I'm not going around not judging you and shit like that. That's what real love is. So I was going by the feelings, not the decision kind of thing. And that was just stupid. And the second thing is I'm gonna work on our marriage. I work on me. I'm not fucking good. You know what I mean? If I get my shit together and you're still here, well then great. Great. It'll be a fucking amazing marriage because I'll be the man I'm supposed to be. If I'm working on myself and you lose patience and you leave, I'm still better off, right? I'm not a dick to other people, you know, whatever. It's fucking taking ownership of your own self, of your own fucking thoughts, your own addiction, decisions, your own actions, your own everything, all on you, every single fucking one of them. And that's why I get so fucking tired about people at home. Not tired, frustrated, because you're responsible for that shit. You're responsible for putting your kid to bed every night. We used to lock the door, keep the bad guys out, right? We lock the door so the bad guys don't get in. Well, now I'm going to put you to bed with the bad guys on your phone. Fucking A. Not my responsibility. Yours. Step up. I don't know, man. I'm ranting a little bit, but yeah, that shit's really important. Take responsibility for yourself.
It is, and part of, you know, it's a complex issue too, right? Like my experience in life is most people are scared. Most people are very worried about what somebody else is going to think, to the point that they're disingenuous to themselves, right? They, you know, to your point, I've met more guys that are physically, but on the inside, they are the meekest and just of a man, right? And then I've met other dudes who just exude, right? And 4'7", you know what I mean? And that dude's gonna whoop everybody's ass. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. And I think if we're being honest with ourselves, you know, what is driving that behavior? What is it? Is it there's something more to it? There's something that you know, and well, part of it is, and you and I align on this, you know, it's Satan at work, right? But aside from that piece, there's usually another driver to the behavior, right? There's some kind of trauma that's unresolved. There's something going on there. You weren't loved enough, or you don't value yourself enough. And I've seen, you know, I'm quite familiar with sex addicts, and a lot of that is rooted in trying to fill a void of lack of self-love. And so, you know, how much of this bro behavior and this fiefdom, you know, I find a lot of the folks in our industry didn't succeed in the traditional structure and hierarchy of the society, right? They were generally bullied. They were generally ignored or mistreated or pushed in a corner. And we've talked about this before, that our industry seems to gravitate to a particular set of wounded human, right? And then, you know, you introduce females in that who also have their own sets of issues and traumas and whatever, but then, and it just gets weird. And I think sometimes too, especially among tech bros, right, that well, like, there's a girl in the room. Ah! You know, it's right. Like, dude, chill out.
And I'll tell you one thing that doesn't work too, though, because I've seen a lot of this, is male bashing, guy bashing. That doesn't.
Yeah, that's not helpful.
Not all men, because few men have shitty behaviors, or maybe many men have shitty behaviors. To just bash the entire male gender for it doesn't help, right? What does help is to get at the root of these issues and find out, why do you behave that way? What the fuck is wrong with you? So that we can start working on it, as opposed to, yeah, all men are just fucking assholes. And no, that's not true.
No, what I do hear, it's like 80-20. I asked my wife, we talked about this. I actually got the stat from her viewpoint, right? And she's like, she goes 60-40. And then her face pauses and you can see the reflection, and she goes, 80-20. So I was like, how much do you run into this? Like, how much of this is, and it's crazy. And that was on the heels of that. I think I shared this with you guys, that she had her first like major interaction in her lifetime where she truly was not feeling safe. Like, city street smart, can carry herself well, knows how to avoid the sketchy sitch, but found herself in the crosshairs of like, yeah, that guy's a serial killer. Like, it's going down. Like, I am so not comfortable. And so we had talked about that, and I'm like, well, you know, how much, you know, because you guys know I advocate for changing these things. Like, it's part of why we're talking about this tonight, right? We all want to see this different. And when I asked her, she's like 80-20. I'm like, fuck, what are we doing? It's not unwinnable, right?
No, but it's
By
true.
any
No,
means.
I want bodies. I want
What?
bodies.
The 20 better rally, because I do believe that most of that 80 can be redeemed.
I agree. Somebody says
And the
to me
others
other
can
day,
become
the
fertilizer.
world needs a dad. I'm serious. This is a quote from a friend of mine. The world needs it, because I'm like, you know, I'm getting a little topsy-turvy some days with just the amount of insanity I'm seeing, just a deluge of like, I don't know how to make sense of this. But I'm like, what do you think? I'm like, what's it gonna take? He's like, the world needs a dad. I'm like, I'm calling Evan.
There we go. That'll do it.
Oh boy.
That's gonna be his retirement job. If you could just dad the world for a few weeks, that'd be great. Thanks, please.
I don't-
Week on, week off. Week on, week off. We can deal with this.
Yeah, well, okay. All right. I like it. We'll rotate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he said it and it was funny, but at the same time, it was so sadly true. I was just like, oh wow, that really landed. So
It is
I don't know. Ladies, how do we help? Let us know. Men,
Well,
get it together, bro. Grow up.
Well, no
I
shit.
get it.
I mean, that
We're
was-
all teenagers with money, but for fuck's sake, part of our teenagehood could get left behind.
It's, I mean, this is just, I don't get it. I do get it, unfortunately, but I don't get it. You know, especially that if it is 80-20, that totally sucks. I figured 60-70%. Well, 60 maybe.
I mean,
But
and that's her
80-20.
take, right? She,
Yeah.
you know, that.
But she's
I don't know.
probably
I
not.
mean, I'd be.
She's,
well, and Marla's
Here's the
sitting
thing.
right here. Let me ask
Yeah,
you,
ask Marlis.
yeah.
Marlis, what percentage of the male population, what percentage would you say are responsible men versus boys who can shave?
I would say probably today's society,
Yep, right now.
Where's your head on that?
honestly,
Realistically.
probably say about
Oh, she says 50-50.
Okay.
Interesting.
Right. But how often and how many do you have to put your head aside?
Change your mind, let me know.
yeah. I mean, I guess it's a hard one to say. Maybe even I don't know. It's a hard one. It could even be less.
Well, give it some more thought. Marlis is a kind heart, so I think she thinks better of people often.
Right. Well, and my question was more
your,
specific to feeling unsafe. Like when you interact with men, like what, you know, like
Now, is that because of your industry?
out of
or is it
100 men,
because of-
how many are you like, ooh, that guy's
How
sketchy?
about it?
I was gonna say I'm probably being generous.
Okay, how about what Brian just with men? Take the last 100 men interactions, take me out of the equation. How many of those, what percentage of those would you say you felt unsafe? Is that less or more than your
Well, it's not
50-50?
unsafe. I don't go by unsafe. I go by
Creeped out.
I go by
Freaked out?
respect.
Respect? Okay. How many would you say respected you?
Oh, I would say.
Yeah.
Go by that, I would go probably 35%.
She says 35% respect her.
I mean, you don't see men nowadays.
Yeah.
Them being gentlemen. You don't see them open
How
the
do you
door.
do it though?
You just don't see any of the. Any of
She
that.
says men being gentlemen kind of gone.
Yeah, there's none of
Too
that.
much,
Stuff like
too
that.
much to think about.
Factors out there.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
So I was talking with yeah.
Yeah, she said, Marla said 50-50 between men and boys who can shave. And she said about 35% of the men she interacts with treat her with respect.
So Jen's in the same 50-50. Jen's in the same 50-50. But what was interesting, because I mean, most without me putting words in your mouth, most of your stuff is healthcare risk management and just the healthcare world. So from the healthcare world, they've made strides. It used to be much more where we are, but she's saying they've made strides. So what we need to do is sit down and have a conversation with folks in the healthcare world and go, how did you do it? Where are the bodies buried? And how do we hide the evidence?
Yeah. And Ryan, I know you told me stories of Amy, male doctors, totally disregarding what she says because,
God.
I mean, part of that is because she's a female, but also part of that is because she doesn't have the formal, Harvard education type thing.
Oh
right?
yeah. No, she has been dismissed, by the male medical community. I mean, the first one told her to read a romance novel. That was his prescription for her problem. Read a romance novel. 18 years later, we find out it's hormones.
Does he have a name?
No, but I will tell you one funny story. So she was having some inflammation situation, and it had gotten pretty uncomfortable. So she went into the doc to get it checked out, urgent care situation. And the doctor literally looked at her and said, "You're using it too much."
What?
I shit you not. And I won't recreate it here on the show as it actually went down, but it was a very thick, heavy Asian accent when he said it. And while we were offended, it came out in such a way that it was almost comical, because it was like, wait, what did he? I mean, his accent's really heavy, so he repeated it. And then we were like, the fuck?
He really said that.
Yeah. And then it became a the fuck kind of moment. Like, what? You excuse me? Like, did you just call my wife a hoe? Like, I think we about to fight, bro. What?
Yeah, that's his fighting word.
But it was just an absolute disregard, because he had already made up in his mind that she was being too active, which wasn't even remotely the case. We were not having activity because of the pain and things and such. And so it was just one more example of the dismissiveness of men when it comes to women's healthcare, which I think is systemic of a lot of it. I mean, hell, if their own doctors won't give them the time of day.
Well, and truly, man, I mean, you and I can probably both think of times in our own, like, now that you've been talking about this, I'm like, fuck, I'm sure there are times when I minimize what Marla says. You know what I mean? Just
I try to be conscious of it, but I can't say I'm guilt-free.
Yeah, interesting.
If I'm being authentic and honest with myself, right? I'm by no means perfect.
But that's a part too, right?
But I also married a lady that tells me to shut the fuck up when I don't know what I'm talking about. So it helps keep me in line.
But the important, and it's like, fuck, there's like so many parallels between this shit and like security, right? Mm-hmm. The goal is not perfection, just like the goal is not risk elimination. The goal is being better tomorrow than I am today, right? So those times when I have, just these little convictions that you have during the day, it's like, yep, okay. I want to be honest with, be honest with yourself and be like, yeah, I overstepped right there. Now, what am I going to do about it? Did I overstep enough to where I need to go back to that person and apologize to them? Or is it just a change of behavior? I just need to be more cognizant of this and try not to do that again. You know what I mean? Because I think another thing that, because I'm working on this, like I said, with my own son and others, and there's a difference between guilt and conviction, right? Guilt destroys, guilt tears a person down. Guilt at the end of the day comes from Satan. Conviction builds a person up. It's a change of direction, right? It's for your own benefit. It's, okay, I made a shitty mistake. Got it. This is what I'm going to do to try to make sure that doesn't happen again and be a better person for it, right? That's the difference. And that's, in our worldview, you and me and many others, that's God's word, right? Mm-hmm. But I like that binary thing when I think of my own things, when I'm like, fuck, I screwed up on that one. instead of like beating myself up about it, I'm going to like, okay, I'm going to change direction. I'm going to be better.
And that goes back to introspection. And we've talked about this on the show, and I've made the argument before that in the research I can find, there are a significant percentage of the population who lack that ability. But I see that as healthy, right? Like, you should look at how your day went today. Could you have shown up better? Could you, I'm constantly doing that with myself. Doesn't always result in change. Sometimes I look and I go, yeah, I fucked up, but whatever. And there's other times where I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be that. I think I've told you this before, Evan. My philosophy to all this is there's the man I was, the man I am, and the man I'm trying to become. And I try my hardest to keep the focus on the latter, right? If I worry about who I was, I won't feel very good about myself. If I worry about who I am, well, I'm just going to find fault in my efforts. But if I focus on who I'm trying to become, and I double down on that, and I go through that introspection, and I ask myself those tough questions, generally in that discomfort is where I find my growth.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think to Chris's in the opening, what can we do to make this better? It's got to start there. You got to start with us, right? We got to be the best people we can be. And I think we are good people, man. I mean, we're 3 men of integrity who genuinely respect and love other people, right? That's a great example. And that's a place where you start from. Because the last thing you want to do is be the womanizing jackass out there being a hypocrite, ripping on everybody else, right?
That's we have a couple of those in the industry. And again, that's the other problem. And all I can do and all I've done, and actually I'm not the only one, there's a number of us behind the scenes who have just warned conferences and warned individuals about them. I mean, short of, again, turning them into worm food, there's not a huge amount else we can do.
Yeah, and I probably gave you kudos, but I don't think I ever gave you kudos publicly for the step you took on that, with the conference in Israel this year. No, but that was a respectable, good example setting move. It sucks, and for me, that's almost a self-preservation thing. To be perfectly honest, it's both. I will not share the stage with an individual that holds himself in that way, yet behind the scenes is manipulative, grooming, and narcissistic. And secondly, I won't put myself in a position where I am likely to do something to that individual so that they can no longer continue to do that. Right. All I can do is, as best as I can, be upstanding individual and tell companies and people and organizations, hey, just be aware. This is the history. This is this. This isn't just me saying it. Here are instances. Here are individuals. Here is research. Here's work that's been done to point this out. You can make your decision. If your decision is still to allow this, that's entirely up to you. Please remove me from anything. Just remove me. Right. Because now I call into question your integrity. Now, in the case of the Israeli conference, that I didn't know that he was going to be there until I think I'd gone in like a couple of months or two before, and all of a sudden saw him on the thing, and like I'm 3 faces away from him, and I'm like, hell no. And that was an immediate note and call out to them going, I can't do it. And they're like, well, we can't remove him because they've paid money and he's gonna get on a plane. I'm like, well, that's your decision. And they're like, well, we really want you. And I'm like, I cannot and I will not do that. I've said my piece, and that's just how I am. If I see him anywhere, I will not be in the same place as him. Yep. But that's also another place where we can. I think that's where we can affect change. There's this other one that Rachel's talking about. I'm going to dig into that when we get off the call. And if that is an individual that is somebody I've known or seen or whatever, that ends up on my radar. It's as simple as that. It's no different than, as best as I can, and Rachel called me out on it yesterday or a couple of days ago. Rachel called me out. I didn't realize I was on a panel 2 days ago. I didn't ask the question. Just
Didn't think to ask a question. Normally I do, totally spaced on it. I turn up, the entire panel is 6 of us, old white guys. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, normally I ask, I'm like, hey, who have you got on the panel? Who else is going to be there? And at least make some freaking representation from at least somebody other than us, would have been a nice way of putting it. And I failed, and I'm kind of annoyed at myself. Rachel pointed out very, very nicely and respectfully, but I'm like, yeah, I need that kick because I need to remember to keep asking these things. Well, it's the same thing with conferences. I'm like, who else are you inviting? Are you potentially inviting this person? And off we go from there.
Yep.
That is.
Oh, so Jen's saying that's what they're doing in healthcare.
So one of the organizations that I work with,
Yes.
who's doing a great job of this, actually has requirements for panels where there has to be diversity on the
Sweet.
panel.
I don't know if you're hearing this.
It's amazing.
The requirements for the panel is there has to be diversity on the panel. It's a requirement for the panel of these conferences. It's again healthcare. So for me, again, you look at our
That just makes sense.
Well, and that's the thing. When it's said to us like this, it's like, why aren't we doing this?
But that's the organization making.
It's
that
the organization making the commitment. So at that point,
So much of our industry doesn't give two shits about that. It's all lip service. It's money.
well, RSA, perfect fucking example. RSA. I mean, that was the example to end all examples. And then, the following year they actually put women in there, and then the following year they put who the hell was it? It was some fucking numpty who lost everything and had it was the SolarWinds dickhead. I'm going to blame the intern as the keynote. I'm like, how much money did your marketing and PR department hand over to RSA for you to get, the keynote on that one? Anyway, whatever. I'm off that soapbox. We're getting there time-wise.
We are. We'll
Is
keep
it?
doing what we can.
Oh, fuck, it's
Yeah.
already midnight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that time. But
Jen brought me back flourless chocolate cake, and we shared it.
aw.
It was
Hi,
yummy.
Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Hello.
Hi, Marlis.
Oh, she's, I don't know where she went.
She's in there somewhere. Should we wave hello to your young lady, Mr. Ryan?
She is well in bed at this point.
Smart.
But
But you normally are as well. Yeah, Jen normally is as well at this point in time of night.
But I think
But she was out
that's
partying. Sorry.
that's where we start. We start with ourselves, right? We
Mhm.
got a good base. We got a good base here, and then we find other like kind, and we start to find that other 20%. And whether we got to create a formal group or something, I don't know, like a men's learn how to be a man group or something.
I kid you not, man. I'm
Spike Club.
serious. I think it's a thing.
Because there's others like us that really want to do the right thing, and because one of the things I actually take offense to, and I mentioned it a little bit in tonight, was when you generalize and you just say all men are assholes. No, I'm not a fucking asshole. I swear. I mean, I
Right.
genuinely give a shit. I genuinely am a safe person. I genuinely want to help and serve and fix things and be that kind of person, regardless of who the fuck you are. I don't care if I don't think about any of that shit. And I know there are others like us out there, and we need to rally. And then we need to talk about things like this. Maybe there'll be some good ideas that come out of it. Like, how do we call these people out? How do we make it known that Jackwagon over there is making shitty choices? Let's invite Jackwagon to come into our group, and then let's fucking teach him how to do this right.
I like Jen's idea. I mean, how much effort would it be? And I'm happy to do this in a public forum, but how much hassle would it be to go before Infraguard, ISC squared, ISACA, ISSA, God forbids ECH Council, but there's out there a lot of people like them. How hard would it be to go before them and say, hey, you got a code of
I'll
conduct?
call somebody out, take the VC.
All right, how hard would it be to go before them and say, hey, every time you put on a conference, not only do I want to see a code of conduct that doesn't allow certain things, but A, you hold up to it, and B, by the way, every single one of your panels is going to have some type of diversity on it. Get this shit together and stop fucking accepting money as an excuse for not holding up to those fucking code of conducts.
I like this, and I might know a couple people who would be better poised to bring that forward. We should connect. I like this idea. I have nothing against calling this out for what it is. I have nothing against saying, hey, we need to do better. Everybody put that stupid notice on their website, so now it's time for action.
Yeah.
Don't tell me about
exactly.
your diversity, show it to me.
Yeah, prove it. Well, it's the same thing. I mean, I've had a couple of companies have conversations with me. The first thing I'm now doing is going to their About Us page. I mean, again, back to this company who shall not be named. You go to their website and I tackled the diversity, and the answer got back was, well, we have Palestinians as well as Israelis. I'm like, okay, gotta love you for that one, but do you understand the word diversity doesn't just mean it's like us, like, well, I got a Nebraskan in the company. Congratulations, we're diverse. Oh,
well, one of
dear.
so one of the things that we had to be intentional. It doesn't just happen, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of dawned on us on the FR Secure side. It dawned on us, or me maybe. We have Monday morning, Monday afternoon executive meetings, every week at that time. And I come to these meetings every time, and after a while, I sat there and I'm like, why the fuck are we here? Like, what are you talking about? It's the same fucking shit every fucking time. It's the four white guys sitting here talking the same shit. There's no unique perspective. That's why I love diversity. I don't love diversity for the sake of diversity. I love diversity because it brings different perspectives, different facts, and it solves better solutions. And so I said, here it was like, we need a let's start with a woman. We need a woman as an executive here, like yesterday. So that's what we're going to go do. And we found Renee Rutter, who is now our chief operations officer. And holy shit, everything changed. Everything. It was like a breath of fresh air. I came to the first couple of meetings. I was like, wow, ideas, challenges. Like, cause she's like, why would we do that? I'm like,
right.
Why would we do that? That was, and that one was easier. What's hard, and we're still struggling with it, is trying to find people of color. It's hard to find them because for whatever reason. So I think we need to really invest in how do we get more people of color into this industry so that we can hire them, so they'll apply for our jobs, because we're not getting many applications.
Get into, the Bridges in Tech thing that I go hang out on. Mm-hmm. Go hang out with Joanna Udo and Bridges in Tech.
Yep.
It used to be like every Wednesday. It's like every other or every couple of Wednesdays.
It's STEM schools.
Freaking awesome. Yeah, STEM schools, mentoring, the whole lot. The other thing as well, I'll challenge, and this is something I got challenged on, is I don't just want one person of color, one female, one white guy.
Right.
I want a fucking pipe fitter. I want a welder. I want a farmer. Yeah. That's there now. Now I've got some diversity. Mm-hmm. Now I'm happy.
We always hire, and it's never ever served us wrong. We always hire for the intangibles. Yeah. I don't give two shits if you know anything about security. Are you honest? Are you dependable? Are you a hard worker? Are you a person of integrity? If you fit those things, they'll get you in the door for sure.
Yeah,
that's to me. A lot of hackers that, you can hack the shit out of stuff. Wow, that's impressive, but you're an asshole.
that and you can hack it, but you have no clue how the business runs.
Yeah, but
it's
you
always
can't
the fun of it. It's like
people because you're an asshole.
Yeah, well then there we go.
And if you want to affect change, you got to hack the people.
Yeah, big time.
I love you guys.
Assholes cost more money. Why would I spend more money on an asshole?
No.
That's not gender specific. There are assholes on both sides, all sides.
All sides. Yeah. We got some numpties all over the damn spectrum on this one.
Yeah, no matter your gender, you have an asshole. That's a
And
truth. That's a statement of fact.
Here's something personal.
I'm trying to
I find-
argue with it, and I
find
can't.
my
The only way I
asshole-
can argue with it is if you're one of those centipede movies.
No, you still have an asshole. It just doesn't belong to you.
Well, yeah,
It's on
there's
the
one.
other
At
end
the very,
of the
there's
feed.
one. It's one at the very end. Yeah,
One thing I've
could have shared
learned
one.
down here in Mexico is my asshole works better. It's all the
I
natural
don't even
food.
want to go there.
It is.
just-
I swear. When I was down there for that week, I didn't have 90% of the ailments of inflammation issues and digestion and all that mess. I get back to the States 2 days later. I'm like, ooh, that brick. So
I'm telling you, man.
but I can eat Mexican cheese and I'm fine. American cheese, I don't know.
I get fruit every morning, and it's like real fruit, and then you get like bread that's like real bread. It's like,
Yeah, because
yeah.
it got baked down the road in the bakery. I mean, that's there we got big old differences. You're
Well,
still not
no.
going to convince me yet to go down to that neck of the woods. Not
I
until
will-
you clear.
I will want to get certified for scuba diving. Then we can go scuba diving right there.
Well, here's the thing: I'll go scuba dive with you, but don't ask me to step foot on land. There be bugs on land, big bugs. Don't like them.
I'll
Keep your
protect
damn bugs. Any fucking spiders, any damn stupid snakes. That
I'll
shit,
give you
that's-
one of those full body nets. You'll be fine.
No. Stupid things creep in there. They're smart. They creep in there. They burrow into your ear. They burrow into your penis. They lay their eggs.
You
They all
spend
have
too much time in creepy ass jungles where all that Mexico. It's not Southeast Asia. You'll be all right.
I've been here a lot of times, and I'm still peeing well. Penis is working just fine. Nothing called up in there, so we're good.
Telling you, it's just waiting until I get down there. Then all three of us will suffer with. Anyway, we digress.
I love you guys. You're awesome as always.
Love you guys.
Fabulous night. Good combo. We will talk
Oh, I
soon.
love you guys too. All right,
It's great.
everybody take